Welcome to Wellywood Wargaming, where the grim dark never sleeps. Crack open a bottle of wild snake and spark up a low stick as we take a journey down Underhive.
Welcome back to the second part of my Venator gang guide, new and improved for 2025. Last week we had a huge bombshell dropped on the Necromunda community, and that was new and updated rules for Venator gangs via the latest Apocrypha Necromunda PDF that you can go and download from the Warhammer community. Games Workshop were very kind enough in expanding the rules for already an absolute classic gang in Necromunda. Venators have always been very customizable, just as customizable as Outcasts, really, if not more. So these are a kit basher's dream come true. I love Venators. I play them in every other campaign pretty much alongside Outcasts, but the new options we have for Venators here, I needed a week to just gather my thoughts and start doing some list building. So what I've done here today is given you 7 unique gang lists using the new Venator rules. Now, I will just say, actually, last week when this dropped, if you downloaded the PDF straight away, you will have noticed that the Beastman costings for all 3, the Beastman Leader, the Beastman Champion, and the Beastman Ganger, were wildly out and far too cheap. They were, in fact, the same price as their Rattling equivalents. So what I did, and a few members of the Necromunda community out there, was emailed Games Workshop, pretty much just said, hey, you know, I'm really grateful for this new stuff. However, there's a minor problem here with the costings of the Beastmen. Straight away, within a couple of hours, we had the new and updated costs for Beastmen. So if you haven't downloaded the updated version, they did it very slyly. Download it now. The costs are updated. The Beastmen Gangers are no longer 20 credits, which would have made them the best thing in the entire game. They're now 60 credits, which is much more reasonable. I think that's probably about right, and that's actually what I recommended as well. So maybe they listened to me, maybe they listened to a bunch of people, but we did it, so we can do it again. If these things happen, then just email Games Workshop and say, hey, this is what's up, this is what I think, and we can get somewhere with it. So really happy that that's happened. Anyway, I'm going to get into this video now though, but please do like, share, subscribe, and check out the Patreon as well if you'd like to support me in this passionate endeavor. So taking into account the new and updated costs of the Beastmen, now that the gang is pretty much ready to go, I have gone ahead and put everything into Yak Tribe. So Yak Tribe is brilliant, especially if you get familiar with the customization tools. I might actually do a video on Yak Tribe customization at some point, just so people can get familiar with it. It does take a little while to do, but I have included and updated every single new Venator stat profile. That was 8 for each leader, champion, and ganger respectively. It took me a while, but I've done it. All the costs are in there, so if anyone wants to use those, they can clone my gangs, or I can send you a link to them or something like that. I'm not sure how it works, but we'll figure it out anyway. The first list is an all Rattling list based off the Kill Team box that you can now purchase of Imperial Rattlings. Now, I've tried to sort of match the weapons and equipment. Generally, they mostly have las guns. Some of them are upgraded to hot shot las guns, or indeed long lases as well. I've even included a pet there as proxy for the little doggo that you get in the Kill Team box as well. But this means that you can pick up one box from that Kill Team Rattling section and you're good to go based on this list. Now, you might want to do some modifications and stuff, but I think this is a pretty good list with a bit of variation. Not much damage, but it's based, like I said, as WYSIWYG off the models that you actually get in the box. So let's get into it with Sausage Party. Okay, so the leader here, I have chosen a Rattling Venator leader, of course, and he clocks in at 245 credits, by far the most expensive ganger in this list. We've gone for a las pistol as a sidearm, a las gun with an upgraded hot shot power pack on that as well, just for a bit of added strength 4 -1 AP punch. In terms of equipment and war gear, we've gone for an infrasight, mesh armor, and a giant rat, which is the proxy for the little pooch that you get in the box there. The skill that I've gone for here as well is Marksman. I feel like even though it's probably not the best skill in the game, it's very fluffy, and it certainly suits the Rattling sort of sniping lore that we have in here as well. So take into account, by the way, the special rules we get for Rattlings are pretty damn awesome, especially combined with this gang list we've got here. You can re-roll misses of 1s on your shooting attacks, and you can also do some slopping. The first champion clocks in at 135 credits, has a las pistol and a long las, so this is your slightly longer range sniper. Again, I've given him an infrasight and mesh armor with the Overwatch skill. Overwatch on long lases is just excellent, particularly because you can just pin people down from long range. Yeah, it's strength 4. It doesn't have any AP, but it's still a damn good weapon, and it's a cheap weapon as well, clocking in at what, 20 credits, I think, for a long las. Fantastic weapon, and, you know, again, I think is actually modeled in the box here. The snipey looking dude has got the long las, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think that's an auto include in this list. The next one, and I'm not too familiar with the kill team rules, so I'm not looking at the kill team rules here. I'm just looking at what the models seem to have. The second champion comes in at 200 credits and has a bunch of gear. So what we've gone for here is a sort of bomber or demolitions expert here, and I really, really like where this is going. This is the sort of one guy who really stands out as quite different in this list. He has got a fighting knife, a las pistol, frag grenades, blasting charges, and smoke grenades with an armored undersuit, layered flak armor, and of course the infiltrate skill. So this is your infiltrating bomber who goes in, smoke grenades everywhere. We've got infrasights on the leader and the champ and a couple of other pieces as well, and you can shoot through that smoke, as well as being very, very dangerous with the blasting charges and frag grenades there too, and that high ballistic skill too. A really nice little piece. Yes, he's probably going to get killed very quickly, but I can see him infiltrating to the top of a building and just dropping grenades and bombs on people. I also feel like the layered flak armor and armored undersuit represents the model pretty perfectly here as well. Really cool model, and I think this is a cool piece to add to your gang here. The first ganger type here is going to be a specialist. You can have a specialist in every single gang here, and they're only 20 credits, Rattling Gangers. They're very, very cheap, and they're pretty damn good for that price too. I've given this one a long las as his special weapon, and he comes in at 95 credits, again with the infrasight and mesh armor there as well. I'm not sure there are more than one long lases in the box here, but you could easily, you know, just change the barrel on one of the las guns into a longer barrel to make this long las. But I think having two long lases with some extra range and again strength 4 is pretty nice here. This guy is just another annoying piece to add to your rattling shooty boys. The next thing is 6 equally armed Rattling Gangers. It is a bit spammy here, but these guys are 20 credits, so you may as well take advantage of it. We've spent most of the credit value on the leader and 2 champs, and of course the pet. Here we've gone for 6 very, very equally armed spammy gangers with las guns. Now, Rattling Gangers are pretty damn good for 20 credits. They are average ballistic skill of 4+, and when you give them a las gun with that good short range of 18 inches and +1 to hit, it's pretty damn good with the ballistic skill 4+ there. It's the same as, say, a Van Saar ganger. Yes, they are strength and toughness too, but again, they bring those special rules with the re-rolling ones to hit and stuff like that. And these guys come in at 50 credits each with mesh armor and a las gun. That is great value, and yeah, these guys ain't going to be winning a close combat fight anytime soon, but with all that pinning power you have in there, it's just excellent. And then you can just chuck grenades onto them or savagely maul them with your pooch. As mentioned before, we took a giant rat as to represent the pooch in the box. I think that's probably the closest match you're going to get in terms of pets. Giant rats aren't that great. They're movement 6 though, weapon skill 4, and they have strength and toughness 3. So they're actually tougher and stronger than all of your rattlings put together. They're not bad. They're a pretty decent pet. These guys can get coup de grace and also just sort of run around doing little objectives, and of course protect your leader as a sort of screen as well. They come with dodge too, by the way, and they're a small target too, so pretty nice there. I've also taken advantage of the slopper here, so I've added a slopper to the gang for 20 credits. This means that, you know, any fighters that are in recovery come out of recovery if you roll a 6 for them. It's situational, but when you combine that with the Rattling's slopping rule as well, it means that you can re-roll that on each fighter. So for everyone that goes out of action and ends up in recovery, you can bring them back with 2 rolls of a 6, basically. It's pretty good, and I think you're going to auto include a slopper whenever you can in your Rattling list. So that is the 1000 credit sausage party rattling list there. I hope you like it. I really do, and I actually think it would be quite fun to play. The obvious downsides here are not much high damage, not much AP. We've really only got AP on the hotshot las gun, but of course at the trading post you could upgrade all of those las guns to hotshot to get a little bit of extra punch, and of course throw in some grenades there later on as well if you really want to too. I mean, heavy weapons are an option too, but I'm just really going on the WYSIWYG of what's in that kill team box, and I think this represents that pretty good. Now, I've always loved squats, and I've always loved dwarves in fantasy as well, but my favorite version of squats is the old Rogue Trader Old Hammer squats. Now, what I've done here is given you a squat list that is entirely different to what squat prospectors or indeed Leagues of Votann might be with their sort of high technology. We've gone for old school squats, and based off the models from White Dwarf magazine, the heavy metal section here, I've picked a few sort of combinations of weapons and war gear that I think best match the Old Hammer squats here. So this is the Old Hammer squat party. Now, using these delicious models, the leader clocks in at a whopping 300 credits here with a bolt gun and a power fist. This is, of course, the squat Venator leader profile. He comes with mesh armor and nerves of steel as his skill of choice. Now, being able to give squats ferocity skills like this, nerves of steel, just feels really, really good. A guy with a bolt gun and a power fist and nerves of steel and a cool of 5+ is pretty damn good. This guy is an all-round close combat and shooting powerhouse. He's got weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, as well as that juicy toughness 4, with nerves of steel, with the cool of 5+. I like this fighter, but you know, it's WYSIWYG to the model here as well, which is really cool. The first champion we've got here is 145 credits, and it's just the flat squat champion profile, again with a las pistol and a chainsword. You'll notice on a lot of the old hammer dwarves, they have las guns and las pistols, which at the time looked fine and kind of makes sense to me in my head, but now I'm just so used to seeing squats with big burly weapons. But they used to have these sort of long-barreled las guns, Imperial las guns, and I still really like that aesthetic, so that's what I've gone for here. The first champion, though, comes with a las pistol and a chainsword, as modelled here as well, with, again, mesh armor and the berserker skill, just for a bit of fun there. So this is a close combat guy. He's got 4 attacks on the charge, 3 from the chainsword, 1 from the las pistol, and he's pretty good. You know, he's only weapon skill 4+, he's better at shooting, but I feel like the model needed to be represented here. Absolutely. So that's what we've gone for. 145 credits for that champ. The next champion we are using a plasma gun on. He comes in at 210 credits, and yeah, plasma gun, mesh armor with fast shot. We all know plasma guns are horrific. When you give them fast shot, they are even more horrific. This guy has a ballistic skill 3+ as well. 210 credits is quite expensive, but you know, plasma guns are great. You'll notice on the model here, it's actually a plasma cannon, but I couldn't quite squeeze the cost in. It just seemed kind of ridiculous. Plus, these guys are very, very diddly, so holding just a regular plasma gun on the shoulder kind of makes sense to me, really, because these guys are so small. So we've gone for the plasma gun there. I do actually prefer the plasma gun at 100 credits. It's so good. It's definitely better value than the plasma cannon anyway. We've then gone for 3 equally armed squat gangers. These come in at 85 credits, all have mesh armor and all have las guns. Again, at some point in the trading post, you can update these to infrasights or even hotshot las guns as well, just to make them have a little bit of extra punch. But you've already got a plasma gun and a bolt gun in there. These really are just for pinning stuff down. The last guy in here is a squat ganger with 2 las pistols and mesh armor as well. I thought it was just nice and fluffy and thematic to have a pistolier in here with a slightly closer range and a little bit more close combat, I suppose, with those 2 las pistols with sidearm. Yeah, I really like this gang. Is it going to be really fun to play next to some squat prospectors? It's probably not going to be as fun as squat prospectors, but I think the key thing to take away from here is the fact that you can give Venators any skill lists you want. So giving them agility, shooting, ferocity, where you really want it, is something that you can do now with a Venator squat list. So if you wanted to go down the Halls of the Ancients route and make a sort of Venator version of Halls of the Ancients, then you would be able to use everything except the exosuits and whatnot. But you'd also be able to give them all the skills that you want instead of some of the suboptimal brawn and wisdom of the ancient skills that you get regularly on your squat prospectors. So food for thought there, but that is your Old Hammer squat party list there. I hope you enjoyed it. The next one's absolutely ridiculously silly. It certainly won't win you any games, but it is just purely fun, and I have to do a few of these sort of thematic ones. As soon as I saw Ogrins on a Venator list and then quickly realized that these guys can take heavy weapons and all manner of shooting weapons and even shooting skills, I had to do it. So what we've got here is an all Ogrin Venator list with only 4 gangers in it. We've got a leader who comes in at 325 credits. I've given him a missile launcher and low sticks with nerves of steel. Now, how cool is that? This guy has a missile launcher, some cigarettes, and nerves of steel. It's perfect for me. He's got a great call of 5+. Yes, he's only got a ballistic skill of 5+, but remind you, this is a template weapon with a huge pie template as well. So you can just boom frag missiles around the place, and if anyone gets close to you, you just mush them with your fists. That's the kind of idea behind this gang, really, is you've got loads and loads of Dakka from incredibly tough, high wound sort of platforms with nerves of steel who ain't getting pinned, so they're shooting every turn. They're not shooting very reliably, but they're also able to absolutely punch your face in should you try and engage them in close combat. So I quite like it. Again, it's only 4 fighters, so they're going to be bottling out very quickly here, but 325 credits for the leader there. It's expensive. The second one is, of course, a champion. The Venator Ogrin champion here comes in at 265 credits, armed with a grav cannon and nerves of steel. I'm laughing a lot because it's just so ridiculous. So far we've got a leader with a missile launcher, a champion also with nerves of steel, and a grav cannon again, which is a template weapon. Blast 3, concussion, and grav. It's really nasty. Sure, it's only a 3-inch blast, but you know, if that catches you, no save, 2 damage, grav, it's horrific. So I really like that one, and you can do it, so why not do it, right? So we've got 2 nerves of steel heavy weapons with 3 wounds. Yeah, both of them have got 3 wounds and high cool as well, so they ain't getting pinned in a hurry. The next one is an Ogrin Venator Specialist. Yes, again, you can do this. And he clocks in at 235 credits with a heavy stubber, because the Venator Specialists can indeed have heavy weapons as well, as they have no weapon restrictions. Pretty fantastic. So 3 heavy weapons there on an all Ogrin list. The last one is a Ganger with 175 credit cost in total, and he comes with a combat shotgun. Combat shotguns are one of the best basic weapons in the game, if not the best basic weapon in the game, honestly, in the right hands. And I feel like an Ogrin just moving towards you every turn with a template weapon like a combat shotgun is very scary, and then when he gets close enough, he can just punch your face in. So I really like this. Lots of templates. Yes, I know the heavy stubber is kind of suboptimal with that ballistic skill 5, but you know, lots of rapid fire. If you hit stuff, you're taking it out. Yeah, anyway, that is my Ogrin human tank list. So I hope you enjoyed that one. The next one's still quite fun and fluffy, but utilizes all 6 of the house patronages in a 6x Ganger Venator build here. So this I've called Houses of Pain. And what we've gone for here is 6 Gangers, or should I say 6 fighters, all armed with stuff off their actual house lists. I really like this idea as 6 ex-house gangers that have all got together and formed a little bounty hunting crew, with one of each of the 6 representing that house in full. Having access to that leader's equipment list is really fantastic, and we've got some really interesting stuff that you can do here. Now, you can do this in any order you like based on the preference of your favorite house gangers. You know, if your favorite house gang is Escher, then you can have an Escher leader, you could have a Delac leader, but here, of course, I have chosen a Cawdor leader. Now, this guy comes in at 170 credits. We've gone for the profile with the high movement on the leader here and a close combat focus with a greatsword. So we've got a movement 6 piece here with a greatsword and flak armor, and that is all we're taking. Nerves of Steel, of course, is the skill here with a great call of 6+. This guy has a weapon skill of 3+, a versatile, incredibly scary close combat weapon that only costs 40 credits, by the way. The greatsword is excellent. It's +1 to hit at versatile 1-inch range, by the way. It is damage 1, AP -1, and does have the sever and versatile trait. So a really, really scary weapon on a fighter that has this profile. So he's movement 6. He can move around really fast. He's not getting pinned much with Nerves of Steel. He's got a weapon skill 3+, which goes to a 2+ at that versatile range. Excellent. He's only strength and toughness 3. He's wounds 2. He's initiative 2+, which is great. So you could even give him spring up as an alternative to Nerves of Steel, perhaps. but he has 3 attacks. So 4 attacks on the charge with a versatile Sever weapon at movement 6, giving you a 9-inch, 10-inch possible charge threat range is very, very scary, and that's not even taking into account tactics cards. So I had to go with the Great Sword Leader. I love the idea of this guy running around just chopping Juves and the like up. So my second favourite house gang in the game of Necromunda is House Delac, and every time I come up against a Delac list, this is a combination that I'm always very scared of. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it, but I am absolutely doing it here because, you know, you kind of got to. But 225 credits for a Delac champion here. Again, I've gone for the high movement profile of movement 6, flak armour, and a web gun with hip shooting. Yes, I have done it. I kind of have to do it. It is gross, but it's just one of those things. A guy with a web gun spraying everybody with hip shooting, so moving 12 inches with that template, which I think is 8 inches in length, by the way, gives you a 20-inch threat range, and then you've got a guy running around with a greatsword coup de grassing everybody that he hasn't killed on his first swing. So that is a nasty combination. I do like it, though. It's very, very cheeky indeed. And now, to rub further salt in the wound, the second champion and my third favourite house gang in the game is, of course, House Van Saar. Clocking at 200 credits, we are taking advantage of the high ballistic skill champion profile with a ballistic skill of 2+. Yes, this guy's only movement 4, but that's the same as your regular Van Saar champion. What we've got here is flak armor, fast shot, and of course the plasma gun. So plasma gun, fast shot, again, you're going to see this on a lot of Van Saar lists, which is why I had to auto include it here. One champion with a hip shooting web gun from Delac, one champion with the fast shot plasma gun from Van Saar. Very hard to deal with indeed, especially when you have that corridor leader protecting them both with his whopping greatsword. Really nasty. Now let's look at the last 3 houses. The next one is House Orlok. I went with a specialist here. For 220 credits, House Orlok specialists can take heavy weapons, and I certainly have here. If you're playing Orlok without a heavy bolter, then you're doing it all wrong. So what we've gone for here is the ballistic skill 3+ specialist profile here with a heavy bolter and flak armor. It's not optimal, but it is nasty. If this thing hits you, it will just kill anything. The heavy bolter is, in my eyes, the best heavy weapon in the game so far. It is just so much damage dished out in one shot. It's nuts. I've seen this thing take out vehicles, ambots, whatnot. It's just very scary indeed. At 220 credits is not bad for a ballistic skill 3+ ganger, effectively, with a heavy bolter. And you can skill this guy up down the track because he's a specialist with nerves of steel or something equally as toxic and awful. The last 2 are my least 2 favourite houses, and they are Goliath and Escher. Both of these are gangers. The Goliath ganger here, of course, had to take the reduced cost combat shotgun that you get for Goliath, along with furnace plates as well, because they're only 5 credits. 115 credits this guy clocks in at with the sort of slower, slightly more strong profile. There is actually kind of an annoying thing about the Venators here is we don't actually have a dedicated close combat profile, you will have noticed. And that is my only real gripe with this new Venator update, is we don't have a super close combat generic fighter. We do have the Beastmen, of course, which are definitely close combat orientated, but if you don't want to take a Beastman, you just want to take a Goliath type, you can't really do that here. The profile that we've got here is as follows. We've got movement 4, weapon skill 4+, ballistic skill 5+, which again is offset by the fact that you're taking a template weapon in the combat shotgun. He is strength 4 though, which is the same as a Goliath, but only toughness 3. So it's similar, but it's not quite there. We've got wounds 1, initiative 5+, and attacks 1 as well. And the mental stats are leadership 6+, cool 6+, with a willpower a 7+, and intelligence 6+ there as well. So slightly better mental stats actually than most Goliaths, but slightly worse cool. And again, not with the toughness 4. It's just a minor gripe, but it's just one of those things. You can't really do a very accurate Goliath ganger there. Having said that, the furnace plates and combat shotgun certainly make him very, very good. The last ganger here, and representing the last of the 6 houses, is House Escher. Now what we've done here for a 70 credit ganger is given her the slightly more shooty profile with that incredibly cheap access to the Escher lasgun, as well as injecting a tiny bit of toxin flare with some throwing knives, combining with that ballistic skill 3+, with flak armor, 70 credits, it's not too bad at all. Again, having ballistic skill 3 on a las gun, again, getting that +1 to hit at 18 inches is very, very good. And yes, this is the lowest damage dealing fighter on the list, but this is your pinner. This is the person who's going to be pinning stuff. If they get too close, you'll be toxin injecting them with your throwing knives as well. That is the sort of Houses of Pain list that I've come up with. I quite like it. Again, it's quite disgusting in some ways, but only 6 fighters, it's worth pointing out. So when it comes to bottle checks, then only 6 fighters is quite tricky. You could give Iron Will to your leader maybe, but I just feel like having Nerves of Steel on that Corridor leader is just so, so good. So I hope you enjoyed that one. That was Houses of Pain. All right, now we get into the Beastmen. Now, the Beastmen were the most exciting thing for me personally. When I looked at the new Venator rules, I was like, absolutely, I'm doing some Beastmen here. I've always loved Beastmen. I've kit bashed some pretty cool looking ones as well. And my excitement for Beastmen has always been there since the old Hammer times. Realm of Chaos really excited me about Beastmen. So what we've got here is quite a effective close combat based Beastman list that will rival a lot of Corpse Grinders, if you ask me. Now, there are some weaknesses with this list, of course. It is close combat focused and really nasty in close combat, but doesn't have any shooting or really any high damage dealing. What you're relying on here is a unique mechanic and special rule that I'm going to exploit in the full. Beastmen have a special rule where they are immune to the effects of Friends-On. So what we're going to do here is give them all Friends-On. Absolutely. You kind of have to. It's so good. And also, it gives them 3 skills. Or 4 skills, is it? Nerves of Steel, Berserker, True Grit, and Unstoppable. Something like that. 4 skills it gives you for the cost of 20 credits is absolutely ridiculous. So we have to take advantage of that here. There are only 6 fighters in this list. Again, based on the updated Beastmen costs that we've got here. But I still had to do it. The Beastman leader in particular is very, very scary indeed. He's got movement 4, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, toughness and strength 4, 3 wounds, initiative 3 up, and a 3 attacks as well. So whopping 3 attacks is just fantastic. This guy clocks in at 280 credits, and I've taken a bolt pistol and a chainsword with a stim slug stash, hazard suit, and Friends-On with Iron Will, just to stop those bottle checks being so hectic when we get into the sort of core mechanic that I'm going to explore here. Dialing it back a little bit, by the way, you can use the Beastmen kill team as the models here, and that's actually what I've done. I've tried to match as closely as possible the WYSIWYG from the Beastmen in this box. With a couple of little weapon snips here and there, you can certainly create this list very easily out of one box. So that's a fantastic option to have. All of those kill team models are Necromunda models, but the Ratlings and the Beastmen, particularly now, are very viable indeed. Anyway, the first champion comes with an auto pistol and power axe, as pictured here, for 205 credits. He comes with a stim slug stash again, hazard suit, and Friends-On with Combat Master. I just thought Combat Master, it's not an optimal skill, but I quite like giving it to him here. Again, you could go with Nerves of Steel or a different skill, but he's already got Friends-On, so he doesn't need any of those ferocity skills. You give him something else, like dodge or whatever, sprint maybe. But I do quite like Combat Master here because he can just run into a bunch of people and not care about hacking them all to pieces. He's not getting, he's not at a disadvantage by fighting multiple opponents, basically. So it's quite nice here. And again, he's got weapon skill 3+ with strength and toughness 4 and 2 attacks here. With the Friends-On and the stim slug stash, it's really, really nasty. So that's the first champion there anyway. The second champion we've gone for here has a rad gun and is a Rogue Van Saar here. So what I've gone for is the high movement profile Venator with a Van Saar legacy list. We've gone for a rad gun with a hazard suit and hip shooting. Again, it's similar to the hip shooting web gun, but the idea behind this champion is that he's going to follow your Beastmen around and actually shoot your own Beastman, giving them flesh wound. Of course, your Beastmen have got toughness 4, right? So let's just dial this back a little bit, unpack it a little bit. Your Beastmen are toughness 4, so they've got pretty good toughness, and the rad gun is only strength 2. So you're not likely to wound them that much, but you are likely on a 50-50 to give them a flesh wound with your rad phage. Now, what this does with the new Beastman rules is for every flesh wound, or for taking a flesh wound, that Beastman gains +1 attack for the rest of the game. So when you combine that with the stim slug stashes and the Friends-On, it makes this gang really, really scary and whips them up into an absolute kill frenzy. So that is why I've included a rad gun here. And of course, if you catch the enemy in your rad bursts, then it's preferable. But you could just charge all of these guys in and just stand behind them, spraying with your hip shooting rad gun. I really like the idea of this, and this guy clocks in at 200 credits. It's definitely worth it. I just think it'll be really fun to play this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to build this gang and actually start playing it because it seems super fun. So anyway, if I'm getting carried away here, please stop me. The next one I've gone for is a hanger-on, and that, of course, is the chem dealer. The reason why you take the chem dealer is because you want access to all of that sweet, sweet friends-on and stim slug stashes, which are just excellent. And the chem dealer here as well gives you stuff on tick. So you can basically have a dose of friends-on or a stim slug stash in your game and pay for it afterwards. You've got to pay for it afterwards, but it means that you get a free one every game, which is excellent. And it makes them all common and easy to get hold of as well. So if you need more friends on, it's only 20 credits a pop. It's pretty nice. So you have to have the chem dealer in there. He's 50 credits, but it's definitely worth it in this list, I think. The three gangers we've got here, no specialists actually. In fact, you probably will want to make one of these a specialist just to level him properly, but he hasn't got any different weapons. Is 3 Beastmen with axes, reclaimed auto pistols, and all a dose of friends on as well. These guys come in at 95 credits, but again, their close combat profile is very, very scary. They're not that fast, but weapon skill 3+, strength toughness 4, with friends on. They're not getting pinned. So you've got a wave of Beastmen moving towards you that aren't getting pinned. They've got unstoppable, so they're gaining back the flesh wound that you're losing from the rad gun. They've got true grit, and they have +1 attack from the fact that they've been whipped up into a kill frenzy, and also berserker as well on top of that. This is a really scary list, and I'm glad my silly brain came up with it, because it might not win a lot of games, but it's just as scary as corpse grinders, if you ask me. It's hard to deal with, and I think this one will be really, really fun to play. But do comment down below if you think this is absolute garbage. I think it's really fun. So there you go. So the second to last list here is, of course, based on my love of The Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge Tolkien fan. I lived in New Zealand, in Wellington. I was surrounded by the lush landscapes from Middle-earth, and I've always been really into The Lord of the Rings. So I probably should start playing Middle-earth strategy battle game at some point as well, and maybe doing some of that too. We've gone for a Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Underhive list here with all 9 members of the Fellowship. This is a terrible, terrible list. Don't play it, but it is very narrative and very fluffy. Being a bit of a Lord of the Rings nerd, I've gone for all of the equipment and magic items and stuff that these guys would actually have in Middle-earth. Okay, so there was a bit of ambiguity when this list dropped, whether you could make your leader a weird or not. A lot of people in the comments seem to have kind of corrected me on this and said that actually the plus 35 credits on a leader to make them a sanctioned psyker was actually printed in a different book, and they don't think that that necessarily conflicts with this. So I'm using this here. I'm adding 35 credits onto Gandalf to give him a weird power, and of course I'm going to make him a technomancer with manipulate lumens, so he can make things dark and light. Kind of goes with the theme of what he did to the trolls in The Hobbit there. When he turned them all to stone, he made the light appear. And he uses lights with his staff and whatnot in Moria as well. So I thought I'd give him manipulate lumens here as his weird power. I'm also going to give him inspirational as his skill of choice here. And the sort of stat profile that we're going for here is Venator House Leader 3 with the slightly higher sort of mental stats in general, and the ballistic skill a bit higher here as well. Slower movement, but 175 credit this guy pops in at, and he comes with just a sword. No armor, just a sword. I was going to give him some sort of staff, like a shock stave or something, but it just didn't feel right. There wasn't a sort of like, I could have used a two-handed weapon or something, but it just wouldn't have worked mechanically with the sword. So we've just given him a basic sword, 175 credits with manipulate lumens and inspirational. That's what we've gone for here for Gandalf. The first champion I've chosen has to be Aragorn, right? I mean, Aragorn is basically the absolute bossest out of all of the fighters in the Fellowship. 150 credits here, and this guy has taken House Champion 1 profile, so the sort of most generic profile here with the sort of weapon skill, ballistic skill 3+, strength toughness 3, 2 wounds, initiative 4+, and 2 attacks. Movement 5 is pretty generic as a champion goes. I've given him a great sword though, with a corridor background and throwing knives from the trading post there as well. Flak armor and the parry skill, which I feel kind of suits Aragorn's sort of dueling nature. The great sword with parry and throwing knives, he throws that knife at Lurtz. It fits for me quite well. Again, no armor here though, because these guys, in the films don't really wear armor till the end anyway. So that's what we've gone for. The second champion had to be Frodo because Frodo's the main guy, right? But I know it's not sort of optimal. You might have gone with Gimli or Legolas, but I just feel like Frodo had to be the champion here. And also, he has better equipment access on the trading post. So we've gone for more stuff on Frodo. 165 credits here. And of course, he is a Venator Rattling champion with the Rattling stats. Only strength toughness 2, but he's pretty cool. He's got a stiletto knife, which I feel resembles Sting in some way. Sting is a magical item. So I think just giving him something that represents Sting's size in the sort of shape of a knife, I suppose. It's not really a sword, is it? It's more of a knife because it's quite small. With Toxin, it's pretty nice. I've then given him Armor Weave, a Chameleonine Cloak, and a Falsehood for obvious reasons, with the Evade skill. So very, very sneaky indeed with a stiletto knife just running around stabbing people. The Armor Weave represents the Mithril Silver shirt that he wears, and the Chameleonine Cloak, of course, when he sort of uses his camo skills with the Falsehood as well, maybe putting on the ring and just disappearing for the first 2 turns in the game. It's very fluffy. I like it. Again, this gang isn't going to win you any games, but it's just sort of fun and narrative. These are just some ideas of what you can do here. The next one is Boromir. He comes in at 95 credits and is House Ganger 2 in terms of his profile. Movement 4, Weapon Skill 4, and Strength 4, so slightly more close combat focused, I suppose. And I've given him a sword and stun grenades. Why did I give him stun grenades? Well, they represent the Horn of Gondor. I think it's just like a little blast of that is stunning everybody nearby in the vicinity. I could have gone for something else with it, but he has the most armor as well on him by the looks of it, as well as Gimli. So I've given him flak armor here as well. And yeah, 95 credits for Boromir. Pretty good. Then we go on to the dwarf in the crew, and this, of course, is Gimli with his Venator Squat Ganger profile. 85 credits with 2 axes and flak armor. Nothing really more to talk about there. It makes sense just having flak armor and 2 axes there. I could have gone for other weapons, chain axes or whatever, but I'm just going for the most, realistic, I suppose, weapons as imagine if the Fellowship was just transported into the Underhive. That's what they'd have, pretty much. The most tricky one, I think, was Legolas, because you can't actually get access to a wild bow, because when you have the Escher House Legacy, you don't get access to the prospect stuff. You only get the Escher Queen's list, so there's no bow on there. So Legolas here is 115 credits and comes in with a slightly higher ballistic skill profile for obvious reasons. I've given him a flincing knife, a very sharp knife there, as well as throwing knives and a needle rifle. I think the needle rifle is the closest thing I can get to Legolas's bow. It's not very long range, but it is Toxin. So it's very powerful. And I quite like the throwing knife addition there as well. It just feels like an extra sort of thing that you can add on to the needle rifle there too. So not much range, but pretty damn good and dangerous at a short range. Then got Samwise the Brave, my favourite of the Fellowship, of course, the absolute true hero of Lord of the Rings. 115 credits Samwise comes in at, and he's a Venator Rattling. So he came in at 20 credits, but I've given him loads of extra stuff. He's got a fighting knife and photon flash grenades. The photon flash grenades represent the Silmaril that he's got. It is a Silmaril, right? The Light of Elendil, or whatever it's called, in Shelob's lair. I think the flash grenade represents that quite well. We've also gone for a grapnel launcher, Sam's rope, web solvent, which makes even more fluffy sense when you consider he gets Frodo out of Shelob's web. We've also gone for the gutter forged cloak there as well, which I feel suits the hobbits very nicely indeed. So 115 credits is very expensive for a guy with just a knife and flash grenades, but it is what it is. And again, I reiterate, this is not winning you any games. The last 2 gangers in this are, of course, Merry and Pippin, Meriadoc, Brandybuck, and Peregrine Took here. These both come in at 50 credits and are equally armed with fighting knives and gutter-forged cloaks. Again, I feel suiting the Hobbit's cloaks there. So that is 1,000 credits, and that's the Fellowship of the Underhive. Okay, on to the last list here. I wanted to do an Abhuman League list, so that's what I've done. I've gone with all 4 of the different Abhuman types, the Ogrin, the Beastman, the Squat, and the Rattling, and made a gang out of that, and tried to make it as competitive as I could do, really. Well, not competitive, but as good, at least, as I could do. I've given a Beastman leader as the leader here, because I do feel like the Beastman leader profile is arguably the best profile in this entire list. This guy comes in at 305 credits. He is pretty decent, and I've given him a Lightning Claw and Plasma Pistol. So a real punch in close combat. The Lightning Claw, if you didn't know, is +1 to hit, making him weapon skill 2+. It also gives him strength +1, so strength 5. It's only 1 damage, but it's -2 AP, parry, power, and rending. So it's a really nasty thing here. I've given him mesh armor and friends on, of course, because you just have to with Beastmen, and I've given him combat master as well, just because it's a fluffy, nice skill. And again, on top of those friends on skills, it's just nice to have. The first champion is an Ogrin champion. I had to take advantage of an Ogrin in here. 235 credits for the Ogrin champion, and I've given him a chain axe and a hand flamer, which is a really nasty combination. I've also given him furnace plates and infiltrate. So this guy is in your face from turn 1 with a template weapon and a chain axe. The chain axe giving him +1 to hit, making him again weapon skill 2+ with that strength 5, toughness 5, wounds 3. It's really gross. And yeah, an infiltrating Ogrin with a hand flamer. You thought initiates were bad. This is much worse. The next champion is a squat champion, so we've got one of each here. The squat champion comes with an iron head bolt gun, an iron head stub gun, and a circular stone saw. Quite fluffy. I've just gone with a pure squat prospector sort of build here. He's 240 credits. He comes with mesh armor and fast shot on the iron head bolt gun, which is disgusting. Iron head bolt guns, they're expensive, but they dish out so much damage. Strength 4, -1 AP, and rapid fire 2 with 2 damage. It's really nasty. You can put down absolutely anything with that. 240 credits, pretty solid champion. The next one we've gone for is a rattling specialist. This guy is 130 credits, comes with a las pistol and a plasma gun. Again, on a ballistic skill 4+ thing. It's not that great, but you've got decent +1 to hit at 12-inch range there, and just so much damage output on a plasma gun. I had to do it. But yeah, las pistol and plasma gun. Las pistol just for backup there. 130 credits, not bad at all. This guy, you know, he only comes in at 20 credits, so you give him a plasma gun, he's 120 credits. I've gone for the extra las pistol there as well, just for a backup weapon, because the plasma gun is scarce and will run out. I've then got 2 rattling gangers here as well. They're both sort of slightly different. We've got the first one at 55 credits with a hotshot las gun, so strength 4, -1 AP, 24 range. Pretty damn good. Still +1 to hit at that 18-inch range as well on ballistic skill 4 piece. Not bad at all for 55 credits. And the last one is 35 credits. Couldn't quite manage to get another hot shot in there, but this guy's 35 credits with an ordinary las gun. So that is the AB Human League list, and that's the last list that I've come up with here. Again, there are so many absolutely infinite combinations and possibilities and ideas that you can come up with here. You know, anything you could possibly think of, you can recreate it with this Venator list. It's just fantastic, and I can't wait to actually play some of these. I think my overall favorite is probably the Beastmen with the rad gun there, but let me know in the comments which one you like the most, or if there's anything I've missed here. But the costings all should be correct. And I'm really happy with how these turned out. The old Hammer Squats one was quite good as well, if I may say so. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing new Venators in their updated and glorious new style. So if you like this video, please do like, share, subscribe, and I will be back with another gang guide really soon, probably on the Ashways Nomads, now that we're going to see some more stuff and a dedicated book for them. Anyway, that's it for now. Peace out.